And we're recording. So tonight's guest is Terrell Naylor. Terrell, thanks so much for coming on today, man. I really do
Not a
appreciate it.
problem. Not a problem. Glad to
Yeah,
be here.
yeah. I'm glad you're here too because so I met you at the Top Gun instructor course, and
Yep.
we have an instructor course here at Top Gun Memphis, and what that does is not only does it give you a chance to, it gives us a chance to see if you're going to be a good fit for our instructor cadre, but it also enables graduates to teach the Tennessee handgun carry permit curriculum here in the state of Tennessee. And man, I had a ton of fun. He owns a security company called Ronin, and he's a veteran and he's just a great dude. So um, the thing that I really kind of brought you on here for tonight is just to know the Terrell Naylor story. And so, how did you get into shooting? How did you get into entrepreneurship? I want to know the thing, man.
So, getting into shooting, you know, I would have to say that it was while I was in the military. I wanted to get better at shooting because when I first shot that M16, not the M4, I was I shot marksman as opposed to shooting expert. And I did a little bit of fishing and stuff growing up, but I really honed my skills while I was in the military. Um, it started with the M16, like I said, and then as I progressed and got older, um, I got into pistol shooting, and I was like a lot of people in the world that got a gun and didn't really practice with it, and you know eventually I got to a point where after watching some of the competition shooters and stuff out there, uh, I wanted to be able to shoot like that. And so I just went out and started shooting. I really got big into it my last couple years in the military when I was up in Alaska. Um, you know, that is a place where it's as soon as you step out your front door, you're at the bottom of the food chain. Uh, Everything there is trying to kill you, to include the weather. um, but in the summertime, you get a lot of daylight. So, and they had a free range that you could go to, and so that's what I did. I would go out and hone my skills.
So, free range, how does that even work?
You know, I honestly don't know. They had an area set up with a pistol side, and then they had an area for rifles. And you just you show up, you can shoot during the day. Once the sun started setting, then it was time to close up. But
Huh.
you just go out there and shoot. It was kind of weird because there's these old guys that would come and like pick up everybody's brass if you didn't want it. You know what
Yes,
I
the
mean?
brass goblins.
Oh yeah. Oh
Hey,
yeah.
young man, you want to keep your
Oh yeah.
brass?
Oh yeah.
I love
Yeah.
those guys.
There was one guy. He was a bit of a prick. He wouldn't even ask. He would just start grabbing your brass. And there's a lot of guys up there that reload their own ammo.
Yeah.
And he got roughed up a couple times for just
Oh.
taking people's brass. And then he called himself getting revenge and did some defecating on the tables and stuff that they had set up out there.
Oh
Um,
no.
oh
Wow.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I could see
yeah.
like reusing your brass, especially in a place like Alaska. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like that's like so
Oh, yeah.
like some of these calibers, man, it might be 50 cents, 75 cents, maybe a dollar a shell. Dude, that's a big deal, man. And
Oh yeah.
you're kind of depending on that until the next boat comes in. So
Right. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a big deal up there. Ammo was really expensive, even when it was cheap before all this inflation stuff started. Um, you know, when we lived down in Florida, um, I got 1,000 rounds of 9 mil for like $110. And when we got up to Alaska, it was like $400 for 1,000 rounds of 9 mil. You know, so what I would do is just go buy individual box each payday and just stock
Yeah.
up during the winter
Yeah.
time. That way I could shoot it during the summer. But yeah.
Man, that's
Um,
legit.
but yeah, like you said, I did I did 20 years in the military, most of it jumping out of airplanes. Um, the last 4 years I spent up in Alaska in a striker brigade, which was a extreme culture shock for me, considering that the prior 16 years I was a light infantry type guy. I wasn't infantry; I was a 13 Fox, but it was different. Instead of walking everywhere, I had to ride in the striker. Um, and they have since done away with the strikers up there because they didn't fare very well, especially in the cold. And now
So,
they fall under a airborne unit, but they're an air assault brigade.
so what
But
is a
yeah,
striker? Like, is that like a vehicle or something? Or
yeah, it's a vehicle. Like with you being in the Marines, you're probably familiar with the Lavs. A
yeah,
striker is
LAVs.
like a
Yeah,
cousin. Yeah, the striker is like a cousin of the Lav.
right on.
It's during the height of Iraq, it was a IED magnet. Um, there are a lot of guys that were getting jacked up with strikers and Bradleys and stuff like that.
Man,
And like I said, it was a culture shock for me because I wasn't used to that. Like when the first time I went to the field with them, guys are bringing, you know, the grills and chairs and stuff like that, and I'm like, what is all this? Like, I carried everything on my back. I'm not carrying a grill. And eventually I learned to love it. You know what I mean? Whenever my striker was working, but
man.
but yeah, um, like I said, I did 20 years in the military. I have 5 deployments. Went to Iraq twice. Went to Afghanistan twice, and then I did a humanitarian mission to Haiti back in 2010. Um,
What was your
yeah,
MOS? Were you infantry or what?
I was a 13 Fox, which back then it was a fire support specialist, and now it's a joint fire support specialist. We were the eyes for the artillery and the mortars, and we would call in Apaches and fast movers and stuff.
Like a forward
Yeah,
observer.
yeah, exactly. So that for us, that was just a position that you were in. Like if when you start out as a brand new private, you're an RTO, and then you would progress to be a forward observer or a platoon FO.
Give me
At your
just a
junior,
second,
you
okay?
became
We're gonna have a guest on the show. Hey, buddy.
the
Hey, come on. Ah. I don't know if you met Malcolm yet.
I have not. I have not.
he's he's so adorable. Like he's so
He is.
incredible.
He is. He
Yeah.
is.
Hey,
I
buddy.
remember when my kids were that little.
And now he's trying to grab the microphone.
Right? Future
Yeah,
podcaster.
there it is. Hey, buddy.
but
Yeah.
uh, but
So
yeah, so like you would be a platoon FO, and then you would, when you got promoted again, you would become a team chief. So you'd be running 9 other guys, and it'd be you and your lieutenant, a fire support specialist, and then RTO. When you're fully staffed. Unfortunately, for most of my time in, we were not fully staffed. Instead of having a total of a 10-man team, for the most part, I had like a 6 or 7-man team, and it
yeah.
was just hard keeping people in our unit. You know what I mean? Whether it be
Like what time
injuries or.
frame were you in?
I went in '99 and got out in 2019.
Oh man, yeah. Like that's gonna
Yeah.
be hard to keep people staffed like
Oh yeah.
around, like not just 2019, but like you're probably competing alongside manpower requirements for Iraq, Afghanistan. Dude, that probably
Oh
hurts.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so the first part of my career, I was a supply guy, and then I was fortunate. I started out in the 82nd, and then I went to USASOC sustainment, and then I went to a selection for 160th up in Fort Campbell, and spent a few years there. Um, then my wife wanted to go back to North Carolina, and so we did. And I went back to the 82nd, went to the surge of Iraq.
Yeah.
Came back from that, and because I wasn't doing my supply job then, that's when I decided to go ahead and change my MOS because during the surge, there wasn't really much supplies going, supply work going on because all the contractors. So we were kicking indoors and running gun trucks just like the infantrymen were.
Freaking sweet. Yeah.
And so when I came home, I figured if I'm going to do that on deployments, then I may as well have the training to go with it, And at the time, the Army was downsizing in my MOS, which is my job. And then, so I had a few options and, I knew a couple guys that were 13 Foxes. And so that's what I decided to do. It brought a lot of great opportunities for me. I was already an NCO when I had switched over, and it like I said, it brought us some good opportunities. I wound up leaving the 82nd in 2013, and went down to 7th Special Forces Group to be the fire support NCO in 2nd Battalion. That was fun. It really
Yeah.
was.
It sounds like fun.
It was like my first week there. I went TDY right after I finished in processing, and then I came back from that. I was busy the whole time I was there. Came back from that, went to Vegas for 2 weeks for the Joint Firepower course.
Yeah.
Came back, went TDY again, went TDY a couple times. Then I went to Yuma, Arizona for the Special Operations Terminal Attack Controller course.
Oh, dude. Were you ever
Yeah.
home?
Right. And the funny part was I had told my wife when we were leaving Bragg and going down, well, now Fort Liberty, when we were leaving there, I told her, I said, there's a lot more downtime in Florida. Boy, was I wrong. So like I said, I went to the SOTAC course. I got home 2 days before Christmas, did my little Christmas leave, and then immediately went TDY again. And then we were gearing up for Afghanistan. So when we went to Fort Bliss, Texas for our pre-mission train up, I wound up leaving that early to go TDY down in Avon Park, Florida. Came back from that, did like a week home, and then I had to go to Moody Air Force Base in Georgia. Was there for a week. Came back, did a couple quick missions over in Camp Shelby in Mississippi, and then had a 4-day weekend. And then after that 4-day weekend, I flew to Afghanistan.
So for a span of what, like, let go of that, buddy.
It wasn't even a year that I had been there before we deployed, and yeah,
over that year, you're really home. Like, I mean, it seems like 3 or 4 weeks total.
Yeah. So in the 2 years I was down there, I was home maybe 5 months. And I wound up having to come home from the deployment so I could have a ankle surgery. Because before we left Bragg, my last jump in the 82nd, I had burned in on the jump, which in layman's terms, I fell 800 feet. My main parachute deployed, but it didn't fully inflate. And then when I pulled my reserve, it failed. Ironically, as I was coming in, I wound up landing about 50 meters from a assembly area, and I could see the medics and stuff as I'm coming in. And so as I'm coming in, I could hear the medics talking about, "Oh, this dude's dead." And I hit the ground, and they heard me scream because I had broke my ankle. And they were like, "Oh crap, he's alive!" And they ran over and started working on me. Wound up with a broken ankle, had a concussion, fractured some ribs, had a partially collapsed lung. But I'm still here. Yeah, so the bones healed up, and I went ahead and PCS'd. But because of that surgery that I had, when I got home from Afghanistan, I couldn't jump anymore. And so it was like, and I knew before I had the surgery that I wasn't going to be able to jump anymore. So um, I talked to my branch manager. And he was like, "Well, I got some options for you." And he was like, "You can go to the 82nd." And I was like, "Well, after I had the surgery, I'm not going to be able to jump anymore." Then he's like, "All right, well, what about Korea?" And I said, "Right now, I'm currently sitting in Afghanistan, so you can throw Korea out."
Yeah.
Because I wasn't going to go without seeing my family for a couple of years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he's like, "All right, well, I can get you Alaska." And I said, "All right, well, I guess I'm building snowmen."
So
um,
at that time, uh, you know, soldiers that went to Afghanistan, they were doing like 15-month deployments, right?
yeah. So, but for
Man.
me, because I was in special operations, uh, I only did 6 months. Um,
Yeah.
that 6 months was a fast 6 months, but at the same time, it was busy, 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 busy. It was some of the best and worst of times. There were some things that happened that I won't get into on here, but
Yeah.
uh, it it made it difficult. You know, we lost some really good dudes there. Um,
Jesus, man.
you know, but went to Alaska and finished out my career up there. Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
that's pretty much me. I grew up here. I was originally born in Arizona. I was born in Arizona. Lived there for the first 9, 10 years of my life, and then moved here. Um, we moved here in '90, and then graduated from Millington, um, and then decided to come back here because my parents are still here when I retired. Decided to come
Yeah.
back here. Um, my little brother's still in. My son is now in. My cousin was in. She's retired and living in Texas right now. And she'll check this podcast out too. So, hey, Gina.
Yeah. Send it a link, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so
Um,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah. So when I first got out, you know, I tried to do the typical military retiree thing. Um, I applied for Home Depot and Lowe's and Walmart, even just to be a door greeter, and wasn't getting a call back. But while I was on my terminal leave, I had gone through Custom Canine Unlimited down in Georgia, and I got a certified as a handler. Um, I have a Belgian Malinois as my partner. Uh, Her name is Luna. She's 6 now, so she'll be retiring in a couple years. But um, still didn't know what I was going to do. I had a couple job offers, but they wanted me to move again, and my son was in high school at the time, so I was like, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
Um, when you guys have something open up here in Memphis, let me know, and I'll go ahead and jump in on that. Um, there's I had an opportunity to join MPD, and part of the reason why I did not go ahead and go forward with that is with all the stuff from the military, I had a lot of injuries, and I didn't want to be a hindrance on anybody else.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so it was a tough pill to swallow, with that realization that I'm not 18, 19 years old and able to bounce back as quick as I used to. Um,
Yeah.
so I started looking at the private security industry. And I started out with this other company. I won't say their names, but I started out with them. Had a butted heads with one of the owners, and then while I was with them, I met some other guys that are now my partners, and we decided that we were going to start out doing canine security. There's a need out there, whether it be narcotics detection, uh, explosive detection, tracking,
Yeah.
or just canine security in general. Like a dog is a force multiplier. Um, so that's what we did. We formed Ronin. We had to come up with a name, and I looked at like with when it came to Japanese culture and the samurais, you know, if that samurai lost the guy that was in charge of him, you know what I mean, then he became a Ronin. So he's a
Yeah.
masterless samurai, and so that's where the name came about, um, because of the fact that I'm not in the military anymore. You know, I don't have that commander in chief above me. Um, you know, I looked at it as I'm essentially a Ronin, a masterless samurai. You know,
Yeah.
and so we started the company. We started out when we got fully licensed and everything right before COVID hit. And when I say right
Oh
before,
man.
we got our license and our insurance 2 weeks before COVID hit. Um, and so we still pushed through it. You know, we were prior to COVID, we were getting calls like, "Hey, what about this? What about that? We're interested." You know, and then COVID hit, and then the phone went silent. Um, you know,
Man.
we were still doing our proof of concept over at Regional One, where I still to this day have canine teams. Um, you know, and I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out Daniel Henderson. He's been the mainstay there at Regional One and our biggest advocate. Um, so, Daniel, here's to you. You
Yeah.
know, we're partnered with another company there, and but what we pride ourselves on. So, with our company, we when we started it, we focused on a few different things. One, I wanted to employ veterans because I knew how it was when I got out,
Yeah.
how hard it was to find a job, um, and so the way with employing veterans, I wanted to provide them a new trade, you know, pay them a livable wage, you know, and then give them a new mission. And if I could do that and help curb the uh, the 22 a day, you know,
Yeah.
then I felt I was doing a solid part, you know. And then
Man, that's
and then
awesome.
I wanted to have I wanted to make it where we're better trained guards doing what we do, you know. Um, like our guards are on the range monthly. The company pays for the time, the company pays for the ammunition. We want guys that not only look the part but can actually perform the job, you know. Um, and so that's the mission that we had set out. Now, I'm not saying we only hire veterans or former law enforcement. We'll hire anybody as long as they're willing to be a team player, they're willing to learn, and they're willing to do the job and do it right. Um, you know, and we'll pay for less than lethal training. You know, we'll pay for their first aid training. You know, we as a company pay for this stuff because we're investing in our people and we expect our people to invest back into the company as far as doing the job right, you know. Um, and we've done a really good job of doing that. You know, we provide them with top of the line gear. All our guards are outfitted with level 3A soft armor. Um, they get plate carriers. We provide the belts and all, you know, all the G whiz stuff for them, you know. Um, and it's an investment, you know what I mean? Um, you know, so that's where we're at with that. You know, we pride ourselves on being the better trained guards out there. You know, whether you're on the canine side or advanced guard side or just a traditional guard, you know, everybody gets the same level of training. The difference is the experiences in the background. You know, um, so yeah, that's the company in a nutshell.
Dude, that's pretty awesome for, just for you hiring veterans the way you do. And also, like, so at Top Gun Memphis, we train a lot of, armed guards. Like monthly, we have them, coming through and qualifying.
Yeah,
Dude, when it comes to Ronin, that is the most locked on squad I have ever laid eyes on. It is absolutely amazing. And so that reflects directly upon the leadership. And so, dude, like that's pretty freaking amazing. So
I mean,
yeah,
we're just trying to do our part, you know. Like if you look at the security industry, especially here in Memphis, it's it's bad, man. It is bad, and you know we're a small company, but if you look at the bigger companies, you to those guys, to the bigger companies, you're just a number. You're just a warm body. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And you know, we've had comments where people have tried to say we're trying to steal contracts. We're not. We're trying to get these bigger companies to step their game up because if we can do it as a small company, you bet your ass that they can do it as a big company,
yeah,
and they know who they are. You know, um, and and with that being said, with us, we want our guards to go home at the end of the day. You know, it doesn't get highlighted in the news, but security is a dangerous job. It really is. Whether you're at a hospital, a school, a sporting event, it doesn't matter. It's a dangerous job, you know. Um, and I want the best trained people, and we'll train them, you know, out there protecting the people. You know what I mean? Um, it's it's sad some of the stuff that I see out in town. You
yeah,
know, you go to a Kroger, you got a security guard sitting in the handicap motorized handicap carts playing on their phone while somebody just walked out with a basket full of groceries that they stole. You know
yeah,
what I mean? You got guards that don't care about their appearance, you know. They don't even try to be physically fit at all, you know, and they got their shirts untucked. I was at a restaurant and the security guard that was in there, she had her holster canted. So when she sat down, she was literally flagging everybody in the restaurant, you know. And when I said something to her, she got mad at me. And I said, "You're the one out here flagging a loaded firearm at everybody,"
yeah,
you know. Most of them like don't know what they're doing. You know, they don't care what they're doing. You know, they're just there to collect a check, and that those aren't the kind of people I want. You know, I want the people that want to learn the job and do it the right way. You know, and that carry themselves as professionals. You know, um, and I would go as far as to say as is with our company, like if there's a threat, our guys are going to put that threat down. Um, you know, it's not that's a bold statement. It is, but it's not for lack of effort. You know what I mean? What I don't want to have to deal with as a owner is for an active shooter event to happen and my guards are there and they didn't do anything about it.
oh man, yeah, yeah,
Especially at a school or a hospital, you know, a sporting event, you know, a concert. Like this stuff is becoming way too it's happening way too often, and it's sad.
yeah,
It shows that we have fallen as a society, you know. um, but I want it to where if it's a place that we are guarding, then you feel safe knowing that our guys are there watching out for you. You can go and enjoy that concert and not have to worry about some jackass coming in with a gun and shooting up the place. You know, your kids can go to school and don't have to worry about some jackass coming in and shooting up the school or the hospital. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's yeah, that gets my blood boiling.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Um,
That jazzes me up, man. I'm just,
oh
yeah.
yeah,
So you know, um, it sucks when you see him like, and so we look at a lot of surveillance footage in this industry as well. You know what I mean? Like armed guards, firearms instructors, anybody that works in like some kind of security profession, because we can learn from it. Um,
right,
when you see like stuff going down, and in the corner is some feckless, the lone inept guard, just he's just kind of a loot drop for the bad guys. Like that doesn't make any
right,
sense to me. It's like you're the
right.
guy with the gun. You might be
Yeah,
the only guy in here with a gun. Why
right.
aren't you doing anything?
Exactly, exactly. And a lot of it really comes down to training.
Hmm.
Half of them don't even know what kind of gun they have. You know what I mean? Um, and so that's one of the first things we do with our guys is get them on the range. And
Yeah.
if they need work, we're going to work with them. If we got to pay for private lessons, we'll pay for private lessons. I will get on the range with them. You know, the supervisors that I have working for me, they'll get on the range with them. Like, and then it's a win-win because the company's paying for the ammo and the time, and you're becoming more proficient with that firearm. You know what I mean? Um, you know, it. I wish that more of these companies would care about their people like that. You know, from my time in the military, I know what it's like to have to explain to a family that their loved one is not coming home. You know, and as as a young private Naylor, 18 years old, you know, I had a first sergeant that beat this in my head. He had this saying, and it was "Let no soldier cry out had I been properly trained."
Yeah.
And that's stuck to this day. It's what I live and breathe by. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Give me
Yeah.
1 second. Can we pause it real quick?
Yeah. 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 What we'll do is we'll just, um, give me just a second. And so we're back. All right. So your first sergeant said that let no
Let
soldier
Yeah,
utter had I been
had
properly
I been
trained.
properly trained. Yeah, you know, and like I said, being in the military, I know what it's like to have to talk to that family and tell them that their loved one's not coming home. And I don't want to have to go through that again. So it's on me to make sure my guys are trained to perform. You know, um, and could I divvy it out to somebody? Could I delegate it out to somebody else? Yeah, I could. But you know, I take that onus upon myself to train my guys. And
Yeah.
if it's something that I don't know, then I go to guys like you and Will over at Top Gun, you know, and get them trained up by guys there. You know, I've done it with Miss Mooney, one of the best guards I got. She's awesome. You know, she's when she first started shooting, she looked like she couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. But since then, you know, she has in a short amount of time through training, you could not differentiate whether I shot that target or if she shot that target. That's how far she's come, you know. Um, it's and she feels good about it. It built her confidence. I feel good about it. You know, it instills more confidence in her abilities if she's out there and has to go to that lethal route, which we never want to do that, but if we have to, then we have to, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and to see that joy in her face when she the just a week ago I had her on the range, man, it was priceless. You know what I mean? She was high fiving everybody, like, "This is awesome! Look at what I just did. This
Oh
is
man.
great!" You know, and
Yeah.
she was super happy about it, like so happy that she went to the customer and was like, "Look what I shot today." You know what I mean? And
That's the
the
best
customers
feeling
are
in the
happy
world.
about it too. You know,
Yeah.
so you know because it gives them confidence that like, hey, if that day ever comes, Miss Mooney's got us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
She could pull her own weight. She
oh yeah,
enjoys it. Oh man.
oh yeah,
There's no
oh
better
yeah,
feeling in the world, you know?
oh yeah,
To see that
oh yeah,
confidence,
without
to
a doubt.
see folks light up. Oh dude. Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But yeah, so like we're just trying to improve the security industry here in Memphis. You know, it's like I said before, it's sad seeing what we see. You know what I mean? I know you've seen it. Shoot, most of the people in Memphis have seen it. You know,
Yeah.
and we're as a city, we're in a sad state of affairs as it is. Because anytime you hear anything about Memphis, it's always negative.
Hmm.
You know, let's throw some
Yeah.
positive out there. You know, let's throw some guards out there that want to do the job. They're not just a warm body. Because at the end of the day, that's still somebody's wife, that's somebody's son, that's somebody's husband, somebody's daughter, you know, somebody's mom, somebody's dad. You know what I mean? Let's That's my challenge to the security industry around Memphis. Step your game up.
Yeah.
Treat your people like humans, not just a warm body. You know what I mean? Um, because it's sad, and I got it. They're making you some money, but at the same time, you know, you got to invest in your people. You know, because you're gonna get it back tenfold. You know, so yeah.
Man, you're speaking straight facts right here, dude. Yeah, speaking the truth, man.
All
Yeah,
day.
speaking the doggone truth. Yeah. So let's see. So let's talk about um, so where I met you was the Top Gun instructor certification program, and that was a lot of fun. It was
It
a lot of
was.
fun to to see you guys just um, to see the guys that showed up really kind of shine, and it was a lot of fun to work with y'all.
Right.
Like, give me your thoughts. What were your thoughts of the certification program?
It was fun, especially getting on the range. Uh, and I felt pressure because the other guys that were in that class, they were some really good shooters too. Um, I figured I would excel, and looking at the way some people shoot, I thought there I should have no issues in this class. I didn't really take into account that I was going to have to get up there and speak in front of now my peers, you know, and talk about, you know, teach these guys as if they were brand new students,
Yeah,
and you know, it's a bit different than what I did, in the military. You could use four-letter words in the military, and it's not necessarily the right thing to do when you're dealing with a civilian populace, and so I got a lot of feedback, good feedback, that I am implementing now within myself to try to not cuss so much.
it's hard.
But it is, especially like growing up in a world where you had to, because that's how you got your point across.
Yeah,
Uh, to go back to the military time a little bit, we did an experiment with one of my first sergeants, and so we had three platoons in a typical infantry unit, right? And so we took two of those platoons, and one platoon he told very nicely, like, hey, gave him a block of instruction on what he wanted them to accomplish, and didn't use any cuss words or anything, and then sent them on their way. Then he took another platoon and he talked normal to them using four-letter words, and gave them their task conditions and standards and sent them out to what they were going to do.
yeah,
The platoon that he was vulgar with not only executed that mission to standard, but they did it in a very timely manner. You know, where that other platoon kind of lollygagged, oh, first sergeant's being nice today. He didn't cuss at us. We're going to take our time and do this. And with that, what it showed us was why you speak the way you do when giving these guys instructions, because it's almost like you don't take it serious unless somebody drops the f-bomb. You know what I mean?
yeah,
um
yeah,
because that's just it's that bravado, I guess, of what we do. Like if you had a leader that didn't cuss and he was just like, yeah, so I want you to go over there and assault this hill, and I was like, okay.
yeah,
But then you had that guy that did cuss, and he's like, go over there and effing assault that hill. You went more lethal because
yeah,
he said effing, you know what I mean? And you went ahead and knocked out the mission, and then you celebrated afterwards,
yeah,
and it was it was it was weird to see that, because like then when you transition to the civilian side, you can't talk like that to these civilians, because they don't know how to take it, and just like sarcasm, a lot of them don't understand sarcasm, you know.
yeah. Like
Um,
us in the military, we have kind of a dark humor. You know what I mean?
oh
Like
yeah, oh
oh,
yeah,
dude, yeah. Like you know, um, like I'll give you an example. Like, don't let us find out you have a sister.
Right.
Because then it's gonna be like, oh, dude, man, I wanna take her out Friday night, and
Right.
like it's like,
Right.
oh, so
Right.
just to like just kind of mess with them, watch them squeal. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So, um, but yeah, like I think you're right because I felt myself doing that in leadership positions back in the Marine Corps because you're talking to a bunch of 20-year-old hard chargers, and
Hmm.
they need to feel that intensity. They need to feel that uh, that uh, that urgency, and
Right.
if that doesn't come across, then they're not going to think of it as urgent.
Right.
Like you could even ask them and be up there like, why ain't this done yet? Oh, you mean you want this done right now?
Right.
Yeah, I wanted it done right now. So, once you turn it up,
Yep.
now they're getting off their ass, and it's like, okay, well, had you set that tone right away, then you're going to get the results that you need. Um,
Exactly.
and so it's just kind of interesting. It's an interesting dynamic, but you can't do that with civilians. You got to meet them where they are. Um, with you know, I find it hard to call them arms. I find it hard to call them civilians. So, like you served a little bit in what was it? So that was Fort Campbell, right? Fort
Yep.
Campbell area. Ever heard of a guy named Shane Kerwin?
The name sounds kind of familiar. I
Yeah.
probably know him better by face.
So I interviewed him a couple months ago, had him on the podcast, and
Okay.
he's a special forces like fifth group, type of dude. He's freaking chill though. He's so chill.
Hmm.
And like one thing that he kind of shined me on too was they don't like to be called civilians. They like to be called, armed citizens. Um,
Right.
and I get that because every time I talk down about civilians, I use the term civilians, and I
Right.
feel like that kind of like rubs off on them. If they feel more like equals when you call them armed citizens, because
Right.
that's what they are, you know.
Yep.
Um, we're on equal footing that way. So it's a different dynamic, I'm still exploring it a lot. And I still
Yeah.
struggle with it often.
Oh yeah. Like me and you, we could talk, you know, the way we did in the military and understand each other. And then but then, and I had learned the hard way, a couple of knocks upside the head from the wife, hey, I'm not one of your soldiers. Talk to me different. You know what I mean? you know, um, and it takes some getting used to. You know what I mean? Um, it's like you said, it's a different dynamic, and you know, I actually like that term, armed citizen. You know what I mean? You know, it's
I feel
it's
like it empowers them more, like it's more
exactly,
of a, yeah,
exactly, exactly. When I said earlier, I spent some time in Alaska, and it's a different dynamic up there too. You know, when we first when we got up there, the day we left Florida, it was 85 degrees. When we got up to Alaska, it was 30 degrees and sleeting. And after living in Florida, we didn't have winter clothes. The closest thing to winter clothes we had was sweatshirts, And I see these guys and they're in t-shirts and shorts and they're out washing their cars like it's 85 degrees. And I'm like, man, these guys are crazy, you know. Um, it was I had a very steep learning curve that I had to get on point real quick. After my first winter there, I was one of those guys that was out there at 30 degrees and in t-shirt and shorts, because
man,
you kind of get used to the cold weather after you deal with negative 40, negative 50, negative 60, you know.
man.
But it was different up there because Alaskans hate everybody, and I'm gonna break it down on why. So they hated the military guys up there because we weren't true Alaskans. You know what I mean? Um, but then you had a different dynamic there too because you had the native Alaskans who hated everybody because they wasn't native Alaskan, and then you had the guys that were born there and they considered themselves Alaskans, and they hated both the native Alaskans and then they hated the military guys too. Um, so it was different there too. But the one thing that I will say is some of the stuff you see that goes on around here did not happen up there because Alaska is a armed populace. Because as I said before, when you step out your front door, you're at the bottom of the food chain. So everybody carries up there, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a saying, armed society is a polite society, you know, and it's because you don't know if that person's got a gun or not. So you're not going to go start stuff with them because they'll shoot you deader than a doornail. You know what I mean? Um, and so I look at it here, and we could have that same thing here. You know, I absolutely believe now, the older, more mature me, that you need to get on the range and shoot with that gun. Just because you have a gun doesn't mean you can hit the target. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Got to know how to break it down. Got to know how to clean it. Put it back together, do functions checks, stuff like that. If you don't, you're just going to be a victim. You know what I mean? Or you're going to wind up killing somebody that you didn't mean to. You know, this isn't a spray and pray situation. You know what I mean? We're not downrange. You know,
Yeah.
but when it came to that, to the instructor course, I learned a lot. We went in depth on the different topics and stuff, and it opened my eyes to things I didn't think about. You know, and we had a great group of guys. Nobody wanted to get up in the front of the class and teach and stuff, but it was it was an experience. You know what I mean? And I'm thankful for having gone through that. You know what I mean? Um, I think it made me a better shooter and want to improve even more. I'm trying to get on y'all's level, having these sub 3 second, was it 4-3-3-2 drills?
Yeah. The 4-3-2 drill. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I'm
that's a
trying to get
fun
on
drill.
y'all's level.
That's a fun drill, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
man, I'm just glad you enjoyed it, and I'm glad you got as much as you did out of it. And
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that I'm honored that we had the chance to work with you.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
like I get a special sense of satisfaction from watching you and the other guys succeed because I get to be part of that journey. You know,
Oh,
I think that's
100%.
pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
so
Oh yeah.
yeah. Alrighty. Well, we're running out of time here. So Terrell, how can like if folks need more information, how can we get a hold of you? Where can we find you?
So you can go to our website, www.roningard.com. That's RONINGUARD.com. We're also on Instagram. Uh, we're on LinkedIn. Uh, the Instagram is Ronin Guard and Ronin Canine Services. Um, we actually have two of them on there. We're still in the transition of merging them into one. If they're looking for canine specific stuff, then go to Ronin Canine Services. Um, but our website covers everything that we do. You'll get to meet some of the crew on there. We got bios and stuff up there. Um, if you want to come and shoot with us, we're at Top Gun once a month. You know, um, you're more than welcome to join us. Come watch what we do. We typically try to go around the first of the month, depending on everybody's work schedules. Um, and then on LinkedIn, we post updates on there. I'm not a social media guy, so it may be a post from like 3 weeks to 2 months ago. You know what I mean? I'm a dinosaur messing with the social media stuff. But we're also on Facebook as well, and then that's the easiest way to get a hold of us.
Right on. Cool. Very cool. So all these links and stuff right there, I'm going to put them into the description for this video and the audio version of this podcast. And that way, if people listen to this video or watch the recording. I said that wrong. If they watch or if they listen, then either way, they're going to be able to get a hold of you.
Yep.
Okay, so man, but yeah, I'll tell you what, like we're at 50 minutes, dude. This just flew by. I knew
Oh,
I
it
was
did.
gonna have fun when I brought you on. I knew it. You did not miss the point. It was awesome. So,
Definitely,
uh, Ter-
definitely.
so Terrell, thanks a bunch for coming on. Really do appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And for you folks listening and watching at home, I just want to say thank you so much for spending your time with us. It's not lost on us that you live busy lives and you could have spent your time doing anything, but you're spending it here with us, and I'm super glad that that you're doing that, and we really appreciate it. So, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and welcome to Memphis.